Top 3 traditional evening foods that help the brain gently relax and recover overnight. For many years, our elders followed a quiet nightly habit. It was simple, natural, and deeply nourishing for the mind. Today, many of us have forgotten this calming routine. Have you ever woken up feeling mentally heavy, like your thoughts are slow and your mind is covered in a soft fog? You walk into the kitchen, holding your cup, and for a moment, a name or a word just doesn't come. It can feel worrying, almost as if your memory is slowly fading. But please remember, this experience is more common than you think, and it does not mean your brain is failing. As we grow older, the brain simply needs a little more care, a little more support, especially at night. The good news is this: your brain is still strong, adaptable, and capable of healing. With the right evening nourishment, you can gently support its natural overnight repair process. Instead of relying only on complicated supplements, sometimes the most powerful solutions are the simplest ones. The same traditional foods our elders trusted for generations. Tonight, we will explore 3 gentle, natural foods that can help your brain relax, restore, and wake up feeling clearer in the morning. Interventions. But the truth is that the most effective, gentle, and lasting healing comes from the time-tested wisdom of our ancestors, who understood naturally how to prepare the body for restorative rest. During the day, your brain works tirelessly, processing millions of pieces of information, navigating conversations, making decisions, and managing your emotional responses, which inevitably produces metabolic waste products, including a sticky, toxic protein known as beta-amyloid. If left to accumulate, this beta-amyloid forms dense plaques that suffocate delicate neurons, block communication between brain cells, and lay the devastating groundwork for Alzheimer's disease and profound memory loss. However, when you finally close your eyes and enter deep sleep, a miraculous biological mechanism called the glymphatic system awakens, acting as the brain's dedicated nocturnal sanitation department, pumping specialized cerebrospinal fluid through the neural tissues to vigorously flush out these accumulated toxins and repair the daily damage. The tragic reality for many adults over 60 is that poor dietary choices in the evening, combined with chronic stress and age-related hormonal shifts, completely paralyze this vital glymphatic system, leaving the brain suffocating in its own metabolic debris and resulting in that dreaded morning fog, confusion, and cognitive fatigue. But there is profound hope, because we can actively rebuild and reset this nightly cleansing process by reintroducing 3 specific, scientifically validated, and deeply comforting foods into our evening routine. The first of these magnificent culinary interventions is the humble steamed egg custard, a traditional staple in many ancient cultures that serves as a profoundly soothing and neurologically protective evening meal. When you consume a warm, delicate steamed egg custard before bed, you are delivering a highly bioavailable dose of choline directly to your nervous system, which your body eagerly converts into acetylcholine, a critical neurotransmitter that serves as the primary chemical messenger for learning, memory consolidation, and cognitive sharpness. As we age, our natural production of acetylcholine drastically plummets, creating a massive vulnerability in our memory networks. But the gentle nourishment of the egg custard directly replenishes this missing link, allowing your brain to actively repair its damaged memory pathways while you sleep. Furthermore, eggs are incredibly rich in tryptophan, an essential amino acid that acts as the foundational building block for both serotonin, the neurotransmitter responsible for feelings of calm and well-being, and melatonin, the master hormone that dictates the depth and quality of your restorative sleep cycles. I recently worked with a remarkable 74-year-old woman named Margaret, who came to my clinic in tears, absolutely terrified because she was increasingly forgetting the names of her beloved grandchildren and constantly misplacing her keys, convinced that she was rapidly descending into the irreversible stages of dementia. She had spent thousands of dollars on heavily marketed brain supplements and exhausted herself with complex medical evaluations that offered no real solutions, leaving her feeling utterly hopeless and defeated by her own aging mind. I asked her to completely stop the expensive supplements and instead simply incorporate a small bowl of savory steamed egg custard into her evening routine, a seemingly insignificant change that felt almost too simple to be effective, yet she agreed to try. Within merely 3 weeks of adopting this comforting ancestral practice, Margaret returned to my office with a radiant smile, reporting that the terrifying morning brain fog had completely lifted. Her sleep had become deep and uninterrupted, and her memory recall had sharpened to a level she had not experienced in over a decade. Her story is a beautiful testament to the fact that healing does not always require a prescription pad. Sometimes, it merely requires us to return to the gentle, nourishing traditions of the past. If this is your first time here, feel free to subscribe to our growing community of health-conscious individuals who are discovering the power of natural healing. Click like, share this video with a friend or a loved one who might be struggling with their own memory concerns, and leave a comment below sharing your own experiences with sleep and brain fog, as your story might be exactly what someone else needs to hear today. Now, as we continue our journey into these restorative nocturnal foods, we must turn our attention to the second essential component of this healing ritual, which is a small, comforting bowl of warm, deeply simmered bone broth or highly nutrient-dense vegetable soup. Many seniors unknowingly consume heavy, difficult-to-digest meals late in the evening, forcing their gastrointestinal tract to work overtime, which diverts critical blood flow away from the brain and triggers a massive release of pro-inflammatory cytokines, which are aggressive immune molecules that travel throughout the body and aggressively breach the delicate blood-brain barrier. When these pro-inflammatory cytokines infiltrate the brain, they ignite a storm of neuroinflammation, essentially setting your delicate neural tissues on fire, destroying healthy synapses, and completely halting the glymphatic system's ability to flush out the toxic beta amyloid. Conversely, consuming a small portion of warm, easily digestible soup acts as a powerful anti-inflammatory balm for the entire digestive tract, preventing the release of these destructive cytokines and protecting the strict integrity of the blood-brain barrier. Moreover, the physical warmth of the soup initiates a profound biological response known as temperature signaling, gently raising your core body temperature just enough so that when you finally lie down in a cool bedroom, the subsequent drop in your internal temperature acts as a massive biological trigger for the pineal gland to release a flood of sleep-inducing melatonin. This gentle, rhythmic cooling process, combined with the easily assimilated amino acids found in the rich broth, induces a state of deep parasympathetic activation, forcing the nervous system to shift out of the chronic, stress-induced fight-or-flight mode and into a profound state of rest and digest. By calming the nervous system and extinguishing the fires of neuroinflammation, the warm soup creates the perfect, serene internal environment for the brain to aggressively repair cellular damage, synthesize new neural connections, and wind down from the chaotic overstimulation of the modern world. But there is more to this ancient puzzle, and by now, you have seen how crucial it is to provide the brain with the right building blocks and the right anti-inflammatory environment, which brings us to the third and perhaps most fiercely debated food in the modern dietary landscape, a small portion of easily digestible, soft-cooked white rice. For years, the diet and wellness industries have aggressively demonized all forms of evening carbohydrates, terrifying older adults into believing that eating even a single grain of rice after sunset will inevitably lead to massive weight gain, catastrophic insulin resistance, and accelerated aging. This widespread fear-mongering is not only biologically inaccurate, but also actively deprives the aging brain of one of its most potent, natural tools for achieving deep, neurologically restorative sleep. When you consume a modest amount of soft rice alongside your evening meal, you create a gentle, highly controlled, and perfectly stable elevation in your blood glucose levels, which prompts the pancreas to release a small, healthy amount of insulin into the bloodstream. This naturally occurring insulin spike performs a miraculous, highly specialized function that is absolutely critical for brain health. It actively clears competing amino acids out of the bloodstream and drives them into your muscle tissues, leaving the pathway completely clear for tryptophan to cross the blood-brain barrier completely unopposed. Without this insulin-tryptophan transport mechanism, the tryptophan you consume from your egg custard or your daytime meals cannot effectively enter the brain, meaning your body cannot produce the serotonin required to calm your anxious thoughts or the melatonin needed to initiate the vital glymphatic cleansing process. I vividly recall the case of a 76-year-old gentleman named Robert, an incredibly sharp retired engineer who had developed a severe, debilitating case of insomnia after adopting a strict, zero-carbohydrate diet in a desperate attempt to manage his waistline and protect his heart. Robert would lie awake for hours every single night, his mind racing with uncontrollable, anxious thoughts, and when he finally did manage to drift off, his sleep was shallow and fragmented, leaving him exhausted, irritable, and suffering from a severe decline in his cognitive processing speed. When I explained the intricate biological necessity of evening carbohydrates for serotonin production and gently suggested that he add just half a cup of warm, soft-cooked rice to his final meal of the day, he was highly skeptical, deeply conditioned by years of anti-carb propaganda to view rice as a metabolic poison. However, desperate for relief from his agonizing sleeplessness and deteriorating memory, he reluctantly agreed to try this simple dietary adjustment, and the results were nothing short of extraordinary. Within the very first week, Robert reported that the relentless, racing thoughts that had tormented him for months simply vanished, replaced by a profound, comforting sense of evening peace that allowed him to effortlessly drift into the deepest, most restorative sleep he had experienced since his 30s. By breaking the modern myth of evening carbohydrate restriction and embracing the time-tested wisdom of our ancestors, Robert was able to naturally rescue his brain from the brink of cognitive exhaustion, proving once again that the missing link to our health is often found in the most humble, traditional foods. Now that we deeply understand the profound scientific mechanisms behind these three specific foods, the true magic happens when we bring them all together, combining the choline-rich egg custard, the anti-inflammatory warm soup, and the serotonin-boosting soft rice into a beautifully synchronized, highly realistic step-by-step evening routine. This is not merely about eating dinner. It is about intentionally creating a sacred, healing ritual that signals to your body and your mind that the toils of the day are finally over, and it is safe to completely let go, relax, and begin the vital work of nocturnal restoration. Imagine ending your day not with a chaotic rush or a heavy, indigestible meal eaten mindlessly in front of a blaring television, but rather by sitting down to a quiet, thoughtfully prepared table featuring a small, deeply nourishing bowl of warm bone broth, accompanied by a delicate, savory steamed egg custard and a modest portion of soft, steaming rice. As you consume this comforting meal, the warmth of the food slowly radiates through your chest, gently activating the parasympathetic nervous system, lowering your heart rate, and signaling your brain to significantly dial back the production of stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline. The highly bioavailable nutrients immediately begin their poetic journey through your bloodstream, crossing the blood-brain barrier to deliver the critical choline required to rebuild your failing acetylcholine reserves, while the gentle insulin release from the soft rice gracefully ushers the tryptophan into your neural tissues to be rapidly converted into calming serotonin and sleep-inducing melatonin. As you finally transition from the dining table to your bedroom, your core body temperature begins its natural, rhythmic decline. Your neuroinflammation is thoroughly suppressed by the soothing properties of the broth, and your glymphatic system eagerly prepares to open its microscopic channels and aggressively flush out the toxic beta amyloid that has accumulated throughout the day. This magnificent, time-tested ritual transforms the mundane act of eating into a powerful, deliberate act of medical self-care, providing your aging brain with exactly what it needs to recover, rebuild, and awaken the next morning feeling sharp, vibrant, and completely free from the heavy, suffocating chains of cognitive fog. I want to take a moment to sincerely thank you for spending this time with me today, for keeping your mind open to the profound possibilities of natural healing, and for trusting in the incredible, inherent wisdom of your own resilient body. Please remember, no matter how many times you have forgotten a name, misplaced your keys, or felt the terrifying grip of morning confusion, it is never too late to take control of your health, to reverse the damage, and to lovingly restore the brilliant, capable mind that still resides within you. The power to change your cognitive trajectory does not lie in an expensive pharmacy bottle or a complex, highly restrictive modern diet. It lies perfectly hidden in the humble, soothing, and deeply comforting foods that our ancestors relied upon for thousands of years to find peace and vitality in their twilight years. If this message has resonated with your heart and offered you a renewed sense of hope, please feel free to subscribe to our channel. Join our beautiful community of healing. Click the like button so that this video can reach others who are desperately searching for answers. Share this knowledge with a beloved friend or family member who deserves to experience the gift of a clear, healthy mind. And leave a comment below to let us know how you plan to incorporate this beautiful evening ritual into your own life.